We all get caught up in celebrity life, right? The glamour of it all. But then the music stops, the cameras turn away. What happens when the real lights go out?
Yeah.
This week, we're diving into Liam Payne's death.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the headlines, but like what really happened.
Right.
We're going deep, looking at witness accounts, the reports, trying to piece it all together.
It's a story that reminds us that even behind the smiles and the perfect photos,
Right.
there can be struggles we know nothing about.
Exactly. And we may never have the full picture.
Yeah.
But let's look at what we do know.
Yeah.
So rewind with me. A few weeks back, we're in Buenos Aires,
Okay.
Casa Sur Hotel, early afternoon. Pretty normal scene, right?
Right.
The Fleischman family, American tourists, they walk into the lobby,
Yeah.
probably not expecting much,
Just checking in, yeah.
but they bump into Liam Payne.
Oh, wow.
And it's not the Liam Payne we think of, the performer.
Right.
They said he seemed agitated, like really on edge, pacing back and forth, almost frantic, in a huge argument with some woman no one recognized.
Public arguments are never pretty, but something about the way they described him, like frantic,
I know, right?
this just feels different,
And it gets weirder. Get this. People saw him waving around a ton of cash, like literally a wad of bills,
No way.
offering this woman $20,000,
What?
like over and over.
Why?
And he even said something like, I've got $55 million. I like helping people.
In the middle of an argument. That's strange, even for a celebrity.
Totally.
Yeah.
And from what people could tell, the woman was not into it at all.
Right.
Visibly uncomfortable, maybe even scared, the Fleischman said.
Makes you think, what was going on there?
And to make it even more tense, the hotel manager actually stepped in, like maybe things were escalating.
Oh, wow.
You could practically feel how awkward that lobby must have been.
Yeah, and knowing what comes next, this isn't just any hotel lobby spat, is it?
Not at all. But before we get into all that,
Yeah.
this behavior, this argument, was it a sign of something more serious going on with Liam?
We've got to consider that, right? The pressures of fame may be something deeper.
Exactly. We're going to break that down after the break. It's like something's off, you
Yeah.
know? Like you said, this isn't just some random fight. And knowing what happens later.
It makes you wonder, what was Liam thinking, feeling at that moment?
Right. And later that day, there's another piece to all this. Someone else, a witness, overheard Liam on his balcony,
Oh, this time.
seemingly talking to himself, right?
Wow.
And this witness, they said they heard something like, I used to be in a boy band. That's why I'm so effed up.
Wow.
Gives me chills. Just saying it. I mean, what kind of weight was on this guy to say something like that?
It makes you think about the cost of fame, You see these stars, all the success, so young, but then to feel burdened by it.
Totally. We see these young stars living it up on magazine covers. We forget they're still figuring things out.
Yeah, just like us.
Exactly. Only it's with the whole world watching every move they make.
And that pressure, it's constant. Got to keep up an image, no privacy, always worried about disappointing people.
It's a recipe for disaster, really. And we've seen it happen before, right?
Yeah.
Child stars struggling to cope.
It's a pattern, the pressure, losing their childhood, the constant scrutiny. It takes a toll. Now, we can't say for sure that's what Liam was going through.
Of course not.
But those words on that balcony, they mean something.
They do. And then not long after all this, the news hits. Liam's fallen from that same balcony.
Yeah.
So what do we actually know about how it happened, the fall itself?
Well, like a lot of this story, the details are fuzzy. We've got bits and pieces.
Right.
The hotel room, it was a mess, apparently, according to reports.
There's that whole thing about a smashed TV, right?
Yeah.
And the police finding drug stuff.
Right. Not exactly a peaceful night.
Not at all. And that's the thing, right? The drugs, it just adds another layer to this whole tragedy.
It does. But before we get into that, we got to state the facts as we know them. Liam's death, officially, it was ruled as the result of multiple traumas, consistent with a fall from that height.
So we're left with a lot of questions still. And you mentioned the drug paraphernalia found.
Yeah, it's something we have to consider, right? With his history, too. I mean, Liam talked about his struggles before.
He did. So how do we even start to understand that piece of it? I mean, addiction is so complicated.
It really is. It's different for everyone, but there are some common things we see, like when someone's going through a lot, stress, emotional stuff.
Right.
That can trigger what we call a downward spiral. And drugs, alcohol, it becomes their way to cope.
And that's like a trap, right? Hard to get out of.
Exactly, a vicious cycle. And for someone like Liam with all that pressure on top of
The
it,
fame, The public always watching, it's a lot.
It is, and it makes everything harder. So we've got this argument, his words on the balcony, the way the room was found, and his past struggles.
Right, it's a lot to unpack. Was it a terrible accident or something else? Something intentional?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, we might never know for sure.
It's still under investigation.
It is. They haven't ruled anything out. And that's important. Their job is to look at everything, whether it points to an accident or something else.
It's unsettling, you know? We have
Yeah.
these pieces, but the full picture, it's just gone.
And it's easy to get caught up in the mystery of it all, but we have to remember this is about a human being, someone's son, friend, colleague. He's gone.
It's easy to forget that with all the headlines,
Yeah.
the speculation.
Exactly. So if there's one thing I hope people take away from all this,
Yeah.
it's empathy for Liam, for everyone who's struggling. There's always more to the story than we see.
A good reminder for all of us to look beyond the surface, remember the human side of things. Thank you for taking us through all this. It's been a tough one, but important.